Hello, welcome back. So the Denon DR-M07 cassette deck has a couple of problems to start off with. There's no eject and there's no play. So let's get it on the bench because it's a bit heavy on my shoulder and take a look, see what's going on. So power on, we have no eject, play, engages, and then releases. Take up spool doesn't move, but because it can't sense a tape in there, I don't know. Rewind, rewinds, then auto stopped. Fast forward, keeps going. The first thing we need to do is get it apart and find out why the eject is not working. That's the main thing. So it's off with the side and the front, I would imagine. So side off first. See a metal top and sides, plastic base back, clip-on screw on aluminium front. One of those things feels that way. Yeah, metal access plate underneath, but the rest is all plastic. Eject mechanism is not doing nothing. There's a piece of plastic there. It looks like it's come under strain. I think that might have been a sort of a plastic. Oh, yeah, that's gone. That's got to come out some way. That was to sort of spring back the eject mechanism, so you're going to have to glue that back in. Perhaps try and fashion some other way of keeping that sprung back in. We'll come to that, where it has gone on there where the eject button's been trying to open. So the first thing to do is to get this front plate off. So knobs off the front. It's not too bad in the scheme of things. A couple of screws at the bottom. So what happens with that? Oh, that comes off nicely. We've got a couple of screws there. Hopefully that will release the mechanism. That'd be nice. So these two cables, take these out. This one's a 7-pin, one behind is a 6-pin, so at least we can't get those in the wrong way. That's two out. Let's see if it's just these two screws to release the lot. It's never usually that easy. So will it come out? That's a bit of the plastic from the eject button. Front panel's got to come off, hasn't it? See the counter moving. It's across here. Yeah, that's one out to come off. So that push button lifts up the lever. Still doesn't want to eject. Will this front part come out now? Yes, it will. Oh, the door's open now. That counterbelt goes round that pulley. Let's remember that. Right. So why wasn't the eject working? No, It's come out of that slot there. So I've got that back in the eject slot, and now the eject works. It's not springing back because that bit of plastic is now missing off the back, which acts as a spring. So I have to try and fashion something. So I've plugged the mechanism back in. Not done. Plugged the heads back in. And I've got a sacrificial tape in here. Rewind. Seems to be going well without auto stopping, so it must have needed the cassette in. Let's see whether it'll stop. When I've got, I don't think there's a sensor. There wasn't a sensor on the timer. Yeah, auto stop, which is good. Fast forward works. Play, still no take up. So, let's just spat some of the tape out. So yeah, it's either belt driven, which I would imagine behind it, unless it is. Actually, I wonder if it's a cog. I'm going to take this out anyway, see what's on the back, and hopefully it's just a belt and it's not driven by the cogs. So the 4 screws out on the deck. So the screws removed. There. Tabs released. Let's see what happens. That's moved up a bit. Might have to desolder the motor. Maybe not. So the belts are attached. A larger one at the top. And the other one at the bottom goes around that pulley, which is just disengaged. So that's got to make sure all that goes back together. Just like that. It has to come off to get that belt off anyway. It's 2 belts off. So hold the phone on the belt idea. It's the old favourite of the. Get it in focus. It's the old favourite of the cog that's lost its teeth. That's the problem. There you go. Should have known that in the first place. And yeah, teeth are missing, so I've ordered some of those. I can put the belts back in. You go to this through the front, yeah, and get it rebuilt at the back, and then just wait for this part to arrive. So the first part to remove is this capstan roller, which just pulls straight off. Then release this little spring here, which can be a bit fiddly. Then this spring is a bit awkward and it's quite strong. You have to prise it out and then up. Just a bit conscious there not to break the tab. And then it's just a case of removing the spring. There's a little plastic tab you just need to pull up there and it releases the whole mechanism. And that's out of the way so you can get to the gear. So just removing the gear. You can see there if it's in focus. the missing teeth. And it's just a case of swapping for a replacement, which just drops straight back in. It's a case of assembling in reverse. Click the plate back in, the plastic clip engages, put the little spring back on, and then the larger spring, it just slots under there and round the back of that plastic lever. Then the capstan roller mechanism just pushes down and clicks into place nicely. So just cleaning the heads while the mechanism's out, cleaning the capstan and the roller, just getting rid of some of the muck off the rest of the mechanism. I started putting it back together, mechanism in, head plugs back in, and motor plugs back in. Testing, rewind, fast forward. And play. All seems to be working fine. And yeah, just cleaning the inside of the door before that goes back on. So the next problem was the eject button not returning. And it turned out to be this bit of plastic here that fitted it there. And that was acting as a spring to push back the eject button. So I went with this fancy idea of building a box on the back here with a spring inside and a plunger, that when the eject button went in, there's enough tension on the spring to push it back out. 3D printed it and everything, and I thought there's always a simpler version. And then I was looking through my box of springs. I decided to try a spring on one of the posts here, which would have been the sensible solution in the first place. And now the button returns just by having that spring on. One on that side was too much, it wouldn't go in far enough, so just the one seems to work. So here I'm using a 3 kHz test tone to set up the azimuth on the XY axis, try and get it as flat as possible, and then back to the waveform, and you can see that they overlap nicely on both channels. And here's the cog itself with the teeth missing, very flexible actually. Here's replacement, and decided to buy a bag of them actually. The difference between the original and this one, I said, is in plastic, and you might find that there is a slight chattering where the other smaller cog engages from the left. It's I should have showed you that really. But I just put a tiny dot of white grease onto the edge of the cog, and the chattering went away. So here it is, all up and running, and I'm going to use it for my daily driver for some time. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, all that stuff, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.